Hey guys, this video is about the AFC and NFC playoff rituals to the blood moon eclipse on January 20th. I want to show you the rituals to the Royal Masonic Arch and the Keystone. The ritual is also for the Dog Star Sirius, and it's also connected to the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz theme is kind of intertwined into this ritual as well. And I'll show you how all that works. And I usually don't do sports themed type videos, but these two games were undoubtedly ritualized for the blood moon, specifically on that day. And it was a ritual that was a long time in the making. And I had kind of tracked this and was going to maybe not do a video about this, but I was kind of inspired by the Dan Barrett channel to kind of look into it further and do my own video. But he did an excellent video on the red wolf moon and the connection to the playoff games as well. I'll leave a link in the description for that. I'll show you the first ritual to the Dog Star Sirius here with Kansas City. Sirius in Greek isosophy sums to 595, and 595 is also the 34th triangular number. And the ritual here is that the franchise of the Kansas City Chiefs began on August 14th, 1959, and if we look at their last win, which was January 12th against the Indianapolis Colts. If we look at that time period, it's 59 years, 4 months, and 30 days. So it's the last day of their 59th year and 5th month to make the 595. So that's one of the reasons they weren't allowed to win. It's because they had to keep their last win on this day for the Dog Star ritual. Kansas is also the 34th state, and just like I showed there, the 34th triangular is 595, and Kansas became the 34th state on January 29th, 1861, and on the day of the blood moon eclipse, that was the 57,700th day of statehood for Kansas. So if we look at that, applying the numbers of numerology, we have a 577, and I'll show you the ritual for the 577 here. The blood moon eclipse, I'll read this little excerpt from space.com, but at the greatest eclipse, which will occur at 12:13 a.m. Eastern Time, the very dark and reddened moon will be sitting a palm's width to the right of a large open star cluster known as the Beehive, in the constellation of Cancer. So the blood moon eclipse occurred in the constellation of Cancer near the Beehive cluster, and we are told that the Beehive cluster is 577 light years away from Earth, which matches up with the statehood for Kansas on that day. And also, to complete the ritual, or another aspect of it, I guess, is that Kansas, their state insect, is also the honeybee. And if we look at the Kansas state motto, it also has a space theme as well. It's the Latin ad astra per aspera, which means to the stars through difficulties, which is kind of an interesting motto for a state like Kansas. And you can also see that they have a sunflower on their flag. I show a lot of sun symbolism in my videos with Revelation and other things as well. And also with this 577, it's kind of a wormwood number as well. I'll show you that real quick. If we look at 811, I'll talk about the 811 wormwood star a lot. 811 in the base 12 is 577. Okay, so if we look at the Patriots and Tom Brady's part of this ritual, the Golden Boy quarterback here, His very first game ever was on November 23rd, 2000, and it was at the Detroit Lions. And on the day of the blood moon, it was the end of his 218th month from his first game. And moon in Hebrew gematria sums to 218. And this game was at the Detroit Lions. And the blood moon eclipse was moving from the constellation of Cancer to Leo the Lion. So you can see how that was certainly a ritual to his first game and the game that he played in the playoffs here, his playoff win. And I'll show you how this eclipse occurred in Cancer, the blood moon eclipse, and the Cancer is also represented by the 69 and is also the keystone of the Royal Masonic Arch. And that eclipse was a ritual to this, the placement of the capstone, the keystone. Because if we look at the score, the total scores of the both games here, they sum to 117. And if we look at the keystone or the center chapter of the Bible, it is Psalm 117, and that's the 595th chapter, the 595 again. So there are 594 chapters on each side of Psalm 117. So if we add that together, we get 1188 for each side of the keystone chapter of the Bible. So we're going to go here and look at which lunation this eclipse occurred in, and it was lunation 1188. No coincidence there. That was set up deliberately. Like I said, this ritual is a long time in the making. So symbolically, we have the the keystone placed on January 20th by the blood moon eclipse. And if we look at the very next full moon, which is in lunation 1189, so now there are 1189 total chapters in the Bible, and the next full moon is February 19th, and we'll look at that date in relation to 9/11/2001. The next full moon on February 19th, 2019, is the first day of the 911th week after 9/11, and it's the 1189th lunation, which is a reference to the Bible. More Kansas City Chiefs ritual here. The Kansas City Chiefs play in Arrowhead Stadium, which is also known as the Sea of Red. The Kansas City Chiefs play in Missouri, not Kansas. And this is where the Wizard of Oz theme starts to come into play here. And this is a kind of a famous line from the Wizard of Oz. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. And little Toto, that accompanies Dorothy on her trip to Oz, is a reference to the dog star Sirius. And if we mirror Toto's name, it becomes an OT, and both games of the playoffs here went into overtime, or OT. And I have this here. I'll call this the seriously bad call. A blatantly missed and call to serve an agenda and a ritual for the Rams and Saints game here. The missed pass interference, no call. I guess I was reading some websites immediately after the game, and they were saying it was the worst call in playoff history. No doubt to serve this agenda, though. The 322 Skull and Bones also have their fingerprint on this ritual, and this was also a long time in the making. A lot of symbolism here. If we look at the song, When the Saints Go Marching In, the song is an apocalyptic song. It takes much of its imagery from the book of Revelation, and the verses about the sun and the moon refer to solar and lunar eclipses. And basically the song is about the saints entering heaven through the pearly gates, or a gateway. And this song was famously recorded by Louis Armstrong on May 13th, 1938. And for the 322 Skull and Bones ritual, on 1/20/2019, this was the 29,473rd day since it was recorded. And that's the 3,202nd prime. And again, without the 0, we have the 322 for the Skull and Bones. And one of the lines, of course, in When the Saints Go Marching In is, "Oh, when the moon turns red with blood," part of the blood moon ritual. And both of these teams, you could say, were symbolically sacrificed to the blood moon that had a relationship to, or that were symbolically linked to the blood moon. Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium, the Sea of Red, and the Saints Go Marching In, with the lyrics to their song, referencing Revelation and the blood moon. And the time, space, and gateway part of this ritual, this is a little more involved, but just try to keep up here. I've shown this before. The Space Needle has 848 steps. 848 minutes as a time is 14:08. And we had Louis Armstrong recorded the When the Saints Go Marching In, and in Missouri we have the St. Louis Gateway Arch. And I'll show you how this is a time ritual. First, I got to set this up with Revelation. The 26th prime is 101, and the 101 represents the gateway. And Revelation 10:1, "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire." This kind of describes the arrival of the angel of the apocalypse, basically, in that verse. But this verse is the 165th verse of Revelation, and the 165th, or excuse me, 165 is the 9th tetrahedral number. And this is a symbolic representation of the Masonic arch. Here we have the pillars represent the 1, and the arch represents the 0, or the gateway on here. Here's Johnny Depp's movie, The Ninth Gate, for the 9th tetrahedral. And the serpents are guarding the entry to the Stargate. Again, forms the 101. For the 9th tetrahedral, remember the 9 represents the end of a cycle, or the completion of a cycle. So on to the space ritual and the time ritual here, now they have the 101 symbolism taken care of here. If we subtract 1,408 weeks from the January 20th blood moon, that lands on January 26, 1992, which was Super Bowl 26. And this was the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills, another Native American themed team here. And the reason both of these are themed like that is that the prophecy of the white buffalo, basically in a nutshell, is the Native American analog to Revelation. Their prophecy of the white buffalo is also equivalent to the Great Earthquake. And you can see here Charles Bronson also did a movie called The White Buffalo back in the 70s. And this is another verse from the Bible referencing the earthquake and the doors, or the gateway. So I want to show you, kind of wrap this up and show you the Wizard of Oz and Space Needle and Gateway Arch ritual on Google Earth here on the map. If we look at the Wizard of Oz budget for the 1939 film here, it was $2,777,000 for their budget. So if we look at that as a 2777, 2777 is the 404th prime number for the 404 verses in Revelation. And if we go on the map here and look at the Gateway Arch, I already have this line drawn in here, but I'll show you the distance here. From the gateway arch, I'm going to fly over to the Space Needle here. Just to show you guys, I got the line exactly drawn here. And if we look at this line here, back it up here so you can see it. This line, this distance from the gateway arch to the Space Needle is 2,777 kilometers. Reference to the 2000 or the 404th prime for the reference to Revelation. And I've shown this before too, but I guess this is a better representation of the ritual. It kind of all came together on the 20th here. And still working on getting my combined disasters video out. Kind of just put this together quickly and wanted to show you quickly the ritual behind the blood moon and the playoff games. I also would like to thank Bobby from the Gematria Pioneer channel. He helped me a little bit with this video as well. Thanks for watching, guys.